Hello and welcome to the Learning Guild. Today we have a great webinar for you, Preventing the Organizational Digital Divide. Shannon Tipton will be presenting that for us. I'm Karen Gleason, your webinar host. As owner of Learning Rebels, Shannon Tipton is a skilled learning strategist with over 20 years of leadership experience developing successful infrastructures for training departments across North America and Europe. Shannon is excited to work with organizations to develop learning solutions to achieve applicable business results. Recognized as bringing real-world expertise into the learning field, Shannon integrates learning technologies to strengthen workplace alignment, enhance collaboration, and increase learning connectivity. And with that, I am going to actually turn things over to Shannon, and she will indeed begin the presentation. So Shannon, when you're ready, go ahead and share your wonderful materials with us. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that lovely introduction, Karen. I really appreciate it. Let me know whether or not you are able to see my screen. I just want to be sure before I head forward.
Yep, we see your screen. Nice train tracks going into the mobile phone.
Excellent, excellent. All right. So what we are here to discuss today is building the digital divide, especially as it applies to the workplace. Now, what I'm curious about, I'm going to start off with a question for you right now, and if you'll put that into the question box for me. How many of you have heard the term, the digital workplace divide? Let me see that. Either a simple yes or no. No? Okay, yes, yes, good. I see that coming in. Good, good. I see no's, and that's great because that's what we are all here to discuss. That's all what we're here to discuss. And just give me a second here. I seem to have lost my screen. And let me go back here. And Karen, all I see in front of me is my face. So help me to reduce.
We see your screen. So go ahead and stop sharing and reshare.
Okay. There we go. All right, now I'm with it.
But we do only see your face. We're not seeing your screen.
Okay.
So
yeah, but I see my screen now. That's what I was looking for.
Okay.
All
there
right.
we go. Now we're on the same page.
Now we're on the same page. I like it when that happens. All right. So we are bridging the digital workplace divide today. And I am Shannon Tipton. And as Karen said, I am the owner of Learning Rebels here out of the Chicagoland area. And some of the research that I discovered was there's a workplace digital divide and we need to build a bridge. And what you have here is all of my contact information, Shannon@learningrebels.com. There's my Twitter and also my website if you have further questions about the topic that we are talking about today. And I look forward really to having this conversation with you, especially in partnership with Go1. And I couldn't help but take the opportunity. Usually people show a formal headshot here, but I really wanted to take an opportunity and say, hey, here's my dog. So I hope that you guys appreciate that as well. So one of the things I'd like to do to start off with is we're going to take a little bit of a temperature check. What I'd like to know is, what one word would you use to describe your organization's technology? And on the screen, you see a Menti. I'm sure some of you are familiar with that. So menti.com, code 2813955. So enter into your mobile device if you wish, menti.com, with the code 2813955. And what is the one word that you would use to describe your organization's technology? And I'm going to let you guys see what you're writing. Okay. Average, disaggregated. There's a word. Scattered, average. Yeah, those are all very familiar. Non-integrated, hit or miss, just okay. It's complicated, it's ancient. I love that word. Old, cumbersome. Oh my goodness, this all sounds very familiar and just right up the alley of what we are going to be talking about today. Yes, desk-based. Excellent. Now, this is interesting data now, isn't it? Where you could take something like this and you could show it to your organization and say, this is the overall feeling for our organization right now. This is the temperature of how people are feeling about their technology and about the digital divide that is happening around us. And I'm going to talk about what that means here in just a second. But this really is a good temperature check that you could immediately do right now for your organization to see, how are people feeling? Are they feeling as frustrated as you might be? And I'm not seeing anyone who wrote here useless. Oh my goodness. I'm not seeing anyone here who said that it is valuable, that it is connected, that it is helpful. No one is making those connections here, right? So I think that this is something that could be easily used within your organizations to help your organization see where they sit. Because ultimately, it's about how it makes you feel. How does it make you feel to know that your data strategy, your digital strategy, as it were, is antiquated and is not helpful? Well, I'm going to show you the effects of having this digital divide within your organization. So here we go. Here are some questions that I'm going to answer for you today. Why is bridging the digital divide in the workplace important? How are we going to bridge that digital divide through business partnerships? And then what are the links that L&D can connect to help us impact this digital divide? Now, Karen is going to throw up a poll for me right now. And what I am interested in is, which one of these three tickles your fancy? Which one are you most interested in me answering?
So go ahead and vote, and you don't have to hit submit. It'll register your vote right away.
All right, and I see it.
And we have votes coming in. About half the people have voted.
Excellent. What are the links L&D can use to connect? So what are the links L&D can connect for digital impact? Right, because we want to know what our role is. How can we really help the business add value? That's really what it's all about, isn't it? How can we help the business add value? And I'm really happy to see that there are votes for the other two questions. Why is this important? And we may feel that we know that it's important. I'm going to show you some statistics that perhaps you might not have thought of, and some links as to how to bridge that gap. So excellent.
So I'm showing the results of that poll for everyone to view. And we have 21% on the first one. Why is bridging the digital workplace divide important? 26%, how to bridge the gap through business partnerships. And the last one, what are the links L&D can connect for digital impact, at 54%. So I'll go ahead. So would you like me to hide that poll now?
That'd be fine.
Okay, we'll go back to the presentation.
Okay. So now let's start. So let's start with the foundation. What is a digital workplace divide? Well, the definition that I have, which comes from Unisystems, the new Workplace Divide Report 2018, the divide between businesses that are tech leaders and those who are tech challenged, and the impact on its business, on its people and its results. So when we think about the workplace divide, workplace digital divide, this is what we are thinking of. We are thinking of tech leaders and those who are tech challenged, and the impact of everybody in between. And there is a direct impact both on people and results, which I'm excited to talk to you about today, and additionally, how we can help with this. Now, I am also looking in the question box. So if you have any questions or even any comments, go ahead and put them in the question box, because I really do want to see where you are at, what your thoughts are, any questions that you may have. So feel free to go ahead and make use out of that question box. Now, what's really important to state here is that it's more than just new laptops and phones. When we talk to business leaders and we talk to them about technology applications and technology or digital advancements, many times the conversation becomes centered around providing new laptops and phones. And that's really not what this is all about. This is about creating a culture of technology leadership for all areas of the business, so we can all be fully connected with each other, making good use of the tools and applications to make the business better. So it's not just about the tool, it's about the application of those tools and the apps that we use day in and day out to help us be better, smarter, faster than we were the day before. And the main barrier to digital transformation, it'll be no surprise to you to hear that it's all about culture. And I'm sure many of you have experienced this. Am I right about that? So when it comes to the main barrier to digital transformation, do you find that culture gets in the way of having updated digital applications or making better use of your digital applications? Does this sound right to you? Isn't there also a misconception that the workplace digital divide is also related to the generational matrix of an organization? Yes, Tracy, thank you for bringing that up. Absolutely. And this is part of the cultural divide also that we are seeing, is that a lot of times when I talk about digital applications within an organization, the first thing that comes up is, oh, those baby boomers. Those baby boomers, they just don't know how to use stuff. Or conversely, oh, those millennials, oh, those Gen Xers, all they want to do is be on their phones, right? Because that probably sounds familiar to you. And we know that that is not the case. We know that's not the case. I'm sure there are many boomers on the webinar with me right now who are very well immersed in their technology. They know how to use their apps, they know how to communicate, collaborate, they know how to project manage, etc., through the use of digital applications. And then there are some millennials, Gen Xers, etc., who may not like the idea of using it. So generations really have nothing to do with this, for sure. So now the question really becomes at this stage of the game is, how do we bridge this culture? How do we create a space for collaboration, communication to come through and bridge that digital gap, right? Okay, so how can we help? Well, there are some missing links here. Here are the missing links that prevent us from having a full digital strategy and can also help us bridge this digital divide that we're talking about. First off is providing technology education through data. Secondly, being sure to have a North Star connection to your business goals. And lastly, building area for community and building an area for collaboration. And we're going to talk about here in a little bit how exactly we're going to get this done. But these are the missing links that we're going to be addressing, right? And I feel you, Adina. You know, you're the help desk for all your friends. And you're the baby boomer, right? Okay, so let's put that knowledge to some good use here and address why bridging this digital divide is important and why it should matter to you. Well, firstly, the effect that the digital divide in the workplace has on your employees. There is a direct impact on employee attitude and emotions, and it directly impacts a lack of social structure. So when we have a lack of social structure within our organizations, like we might be experiencing right now. So right now, with the everything that is 2020, the work from home, the ability or the lack of ability to be able to connect fully is breaking down the social structures that we have currently in the workplace. And our digital divide is making this worse. And what does this look like? Well, here's what it looks like. Well, first off, I do want to ask you this question. So going back to Menti here, in just 1 second, I'm going to bring that up for you, is how does the technology you use at work make you feel about your employer? So let me go back here, and I'm going to bring that up here in just 1 second. Let me get some of this stuff out of my way. Okay. And I will bring this one up for you. There you go. So how does the technology you use at work make you feel about your employer? And so this is a 1 to 5 Likert scale here that I'm looking for. And hopefully everybody can see that. And you are using, once again, code 2813955. Oh, look at that. It makes me, so the technology you use at work makes you feel frustrated, makes you want to work somewhere else. That's an important stat there. That makes you frustrated. Some of you makes you proud. You like what you're doing in your workplace, and the technology that you have makes you feel proud about where you work and what they're doing. Excellent. I'm going to leave this open for a few more seconds for you guys to go ahead and input your results. So you're using, for those of you who might have joined late, you're using menti.com with code 2813955, and you're answering the questions. And I see makes me want to work somewhere else, as some people might have changed their mind about that. Okay. But really, on the average, you guys seem to feel okay about your employer and the technology that your employer uses. We do have some frustration. And this might be another type of data set that you can use within your organization to get the temperature of how people are feeling about the technology use within your organizations. So in the questions, tell me, do you think that these questions would help you get a better grasp on how wide is that digital divide within your organization? Do you think that questions like this might help you out? So you can put that in the question box for me. And I see some comments here. It's complicated by the furlough for your staff. Yeah, some of them that might not have had good digital skills to start with, now we're putting them in a remote place, and now what? Okay, right. So there may be issues with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my first screen here. I'm going to go back here real quick. All right. Okay. All right. So now here's what we're seeing. So when you take these sorts of questions and you apply this to a data set, what we see is that 85% of the people who have technical frustrations or digital frustrations within their workplace, it makes them feel overall frustrated with their job. 44% of people, it makes me feel frustrated with your employer. 14% of people makes me want to go and work somewhere else, which aligns with what you all had said in the poll pretty much. So if you think about this, people are frustrated with their job, they're frustrated with their employer, and now they may want to take action about wanting to go to work elsewhere. So what does this mean? What this means is that people are asking for some very simple things when it comes to the digital divide in the workplace. They want their organization to understand how we work and how we want to work. So these are some missing links that are happening. Your people are asking you to help them do their jobs better and faster, but most importantly, to know their daily journey. Do you know how people work? Do you know how people use technology within the workplace? And this is not about learning and development as a whole. This is about, do you know what machine they turn on first when they come to work? Do you know what software programs they use throughout the day? Do you know your employees' daily journey and how we can help that journey be smoother, be more productive for them as a whole? Mostly what people are asking for is for us to give them up-to-date devices and reliable access to collaborate. This is further where we are breaking down. So when we think about this digital divide within organizations which are tech leaders versus those who are tech challenged, this is what we see. We see these types of comments. So the questions here that I'm seeing is, are we saying the digital divide is a cultural divide, a division between those who are connected and useful through technology and those who don't feel like that? Yes, Laura, we are. So there are times where we give tools to a certain subset of the business and not to other subsets of the business. And so now they're not connected. So you may give your salespeople, those who are power salespeople, you may give them as a reward an iPad. Well, maybe that iPad might be better helpful to those salespeople who aren't that great. That might help them do their jobs better. Or there might be a division between those people who are on the front lines and those who are in middle management, right? So there is certainly a cultural aspect to this where people are wanting what you see on the screen. They want their organizations to understand how they work and how they further how they want to work, right? And yes, Adina, I think it's a little deeper. I think that organizations feel that it's a one-size-fits-all mentality, and it's not. So hopefully some of the data that you're going to see here will help you make that argument. But first you have to start from a baseline, right? What's the baseline? And a lot of times that comes down to, how do people feel, right? How do people feel about whether or not they are able to access information to collaborate? Because this is where the structure breaks down. This is where the structure breaks down. We want to be able to provide people with collaboration tools, with communication tools, and with tools that build relationships. When we don't have these tools as part of our digital strategy, what happens is our social structure breaks down. And because of this, 10% of the people leave their jobs solely due to technology frustrations. Is this something that we can afford? Can you afford to lose good people because we have not really taken a deeper look at what is happening in our organizations from a digital aspect, right? So that's the employee side of this. That's the employee side of this. So now let's talk about the effect on the business. Let's talk about the effect on the business. So the effect on the business, you have what we're referring to here as access agony, which came from a report from IBM, a Forrester report out of IBM out in 2019. I love that term. And it also then affects KPI results. What does this look like? Well, what this looks like is this. Slow tech, legacy apps, blocked access, limited devices. Does this sound familiar to you? Is this something that you are experiencing within your organizations right now? Whoop. There we go. Let's get down to the area. Every day, Kelly, every day. and a lot of people are with you. Cheryl says yes. Slow tech, legacy apps, blocked access, limited devices. All of these items prevent people from doing the jobs they need to do. Subsequently, then, what that means is from a productivity matrix, people are not being as productive as they could be. And that's really not where we need people to sit, right? And some of the ways that we have addressed access agony, and some of you may be doing this right now within your organizations, is bring your own device, right? Bring your own device, because many times people will work around us. So if we don't supply them with the tools that they need to get the job done, then they will bring in their own devices, especially if their devices are better equipped. Now, there's also a consideration for bring your own license. So if you have a license for Adobe, if you have a license for Adobe personally, you might be able to use that license in your workplace because maybe your workplace doesn't want to pay for it. Perhaps it's not a security issue, perhaps it's a cost issue. So now there are bring your own licenses types of programs that are happening. Bring your own internet and bandwidth, Heidi. Absolutely. Yep. All of these things are working for you and can work for you as part of your overall digital strategy. Now, are you currently experiencing access, agony, which I think that we've already addressed. So what I want to do is I want to move over here and talk about the lack of KPI results. Okay, so lack of KPI results. Actively disengaged employees cost the U.S. $483 to $605 billion in lost productivity. And that's because 27% of employees say that the technology they have slows them down, and the lack of access to apps prevent them from doing their jobs. 20% of employees use 3 devices weekly to do their jobs. That should sound familiar too. And in some cases, the devices are of a necessity. So this means that you might have apps that are specific to your business and they only run on certain devices. So you have to have those devices. Those are of necessity. There's the other part to that, isn't there? We are using devices because of necessity, because the tools that we're using aren't working for us. And that's both as an organization, but also as an L&D industry. So you think about these legacy apps, that as an L&D industry we might be using that might be causing frustration within our organizations. But those apps in of themselves are not enough to make people leave us. And they're not enough to make people encounter lost productivity. This means we really have to partner with our businesses to build this overall digital strategy to say we have these missing links, and these missing links, when connected, can make us a better business, right? Because that's where we all want to be. And I see Heidi here, we use different browsers to run different software. Some only work on Explorer, some only work on Chrome. Yeah, there is that. There's certainly that issue, you know. So those are the things that need to be considered. That's part of an overall frustration for your people, right? So now, when you think about workers at tech-challenged organizations, the statistic that came from the 2017 Gallup report tells us that workers at tech-challenged organizations are more than 500% more likely to be frustrated and leave. Our role in that, what is our role in that? Well, our role in that is to help organizations invest in reducing access agony, because organizations that invest in reducing access agony have 4.2 times the average profit. I don't know about you, but I have yet to work for an organization that says we don't want profit. So this is where you can go to work with your businesses and provide them with structure for a business case that can reduce the access agony across your business. Wouldn't that be worth something? Because we all know how this kind of works, right? More profit equals, hopefully, add-ons to some of our budgets that can make for those collaborative spaces, that can make for those connection spaces that would be most helpful to our people. Okay, so now how do we get from point A to point B, which is what a lot of you were really interested in. So now what we want to do is we want to bring people together through common goals and put in that partnership for change. We want to plant that seed that L&D and business can be partners for change when it comes to this digital divide. So I will go back to this. I started today with this. So these are the 3 links we need to have in order to build our business partnership. So let's start. Let's start with education through data. Education through data is building those cross-department partnerships and overall understanding the business capabilities. Now, what we mean by cross-department partnerships, one of our first steps of action is to raise the tech IQ, and this comes from a McKinsey report. We cannot build a digital strategy working with minimal knowledge. Now, the issue here is that a lot of times when we think about building education, when we think about raising an organization's IQ, we typically start from the bottom and then we work up. In this case, we need to start from the top and work down, because this is a mindset shift. This is education for your stakeholders to help them see where digital applications can help their business thrive and survive. And this is working across departments with IT specifically, marketing, finance, where we can see that making this shift then becomes important. Making that shift from stakeholders thinking that it's beyond laptops and phones, showing them what digital advancement looks like. So how can we do this? So we do this through We do this through workshops. We do this through cohorts. We do this through communities. We encourage our stakeholders to be curious about bridging the digital divide. But what's most important here is that it's not about solely being curious. We have to help them to know what to be curious about. That's what L&D was built for, this people, to help our stakeholders understand what they should be curious about, and working hand in hand with the other departments within our organization in order to understand the capabilities and assess readiness, review the data, and evaluate the corporate structure. So when you go back and you take inventory of your employees' journey, when you take inventory of the devices that they use, of the apps that they use, of the frustrations that they have, and you put this data into a report, perhaps, that is understandable by everyone, then you build the tech IQ. Then you help stakeholders understand that it's not about L&D at this point. It's about the business, and we only make the business better through education, through data. Are you guys with me? Let's see this in the chat or in the question box. You know, what thoughts do you have about that as we move through? Because what we're trying to do here is we are trying to bridge the culture. As we discussed at first, is that culture is the biggest barrier, right? We saw that before. So now how do we break down the walls of that culture barrier? We do this through business, and we do this through people. So again, the McKinsey report, digital strategy, 4 fights that you have to win here, is first off, fighting fear of the digital divide. Those organizations who are tech leaders have everyone on board. People are not afraid of the digital applications and the applications that may come with it. There is certainly a fear of apps replacing us and replacing our jobs. So again, this goes back to education, helping people understand that this is not necessarily the case. We want to build supporting networks to educate the workspace on the mindset shift that's needed. Now, some digital apps or some artificial intelligence may take over some of the job actions that we do, but it may not take over the jobs we actually have. So it's a mindset shift, and we have to work with people to understand that and to bridge the cultural divide that we experience. This is our North Star connection. Our North Star connection is bridging the culture. And so we do this through the business by building a hypothesis. So in the Learning Uncut Emergent podcast, Trish Ewell talks about connecting the data dots and why everything should be built on a hypothesis. Why not? So we build all of our strategy on a hypothesis, all of our learning applications on a hypothesis. So if we are going to build the bridge with digital applications, and if we're going to fill this divide, then it's about testing and adjusting. It's about getting those quick wins. So what small digital applications can we use in our organizations today that will bridge this divide? Small little quick wins. We know how to do this. So it might be Slack for productivity, not Slack for learning, but Slack for productivity, Teams for productivity. So we can show our businesses how they can use these very easy tools that most organizations have to be better, smarter, faster, in small bites, in quick wins, built to align to a hypothesis so that it adds business value. This is what we are looking for. Okay. This is great, but I still don't know how to connect senior leadership, especially about licenses. So the licenses is just a suggestion, and this is where some organizations are going, right? So now to convince leadership that perhaps their technical digital strategy might need some improvement, that requires some work on your part first. It is about gathering the data. How are people working? How are they using digital applications? Are you finding frustrations? It's through interviews, it's through work observations, it's through focus groups where you are collecting this data, collecting, and showing that data then to the stakeholders and to the senior leadership and saying, this is what we are experiencing throughout the business. And this is how L&D can be a partner to help you achieve the goals that you need to achieve, right? And we can do that. And it might take a while, but all good things come to the fight, right? So we can work through this together, but it is about, first off, building that hypothesis. I can't emphasize that enough. So find your hypothesis, build the data around the hypothesis that certain digital applications, certain legacy apps, slow-moving technology is affecting the overall business results. And again, you can work with IT on this, right? That would make a great starting point for you. Okay, so the last part of our triangle is about community and collaboration, connected to the big picture. And so now what we want to do is we want to build those collaboration spaces and we want to build those community spaces. What we want to do is we want to create access. Employees with access can help solve the problems of tomorrow. And this is another set of data that you can collect for your senior leaders. It's to let them know this is what happens when we have a collaborative space. This is what happens, right? When we give people access to the proper tools without boundary, without barrier, because a lot of times, and L&D, the industry, we have a tendency to do this, whether or not we are consciously or unconsciously doing so, we limit access to tools. And how do we do that? We limit access by creating a collaboration space, but all comments must be filtered and monitored first. Or we create an access to a community, but we don't let people post certain things in certain places. Or we hide it behind a learning management system where not everyone can access it when they want to access it, when they need to access it. So just as an industry, we have put these handcuffs on our people. So imagine what's happening on a larger scale. So now what we can do is we can break those cuffs and we can think deeply about how are we creating access to our people? How are we investing in ecosystems? Defining priorities and actions, building that digital strategy to support networks and to provide value. It's all an ecosystem, not just an L&D, again, not just an L&D ecosystem. It's an organizational ecosystem connected to a bigger picture, helping people learn and grow, but be more productive and be more efficient. All of these things work hand in hand. One begets the other, right? And so now, what we want to do then is we want to work on empowerment. And working through empowerment means putting questions into practice. And so what I have here are some questions that you can take into your workspace about people, process, and purpose. And this hits those three areas that we just talked about. Ask yourself and ask others, do they know the employee journey? Do we know what the employees have access to or what devices they use? Are we consciously or unconsciously limiting access to apps or devices? And I would ask you, go back and consider any device, any app, anywhere. You know, what would that look like? And this is something that you can put together. What would it look like in our organization if we actually allowed any device, any app, anywhere? Now, I understand that there are going to be some sectors, some industries where this is easier said than done, especially when we talk about highly regulated industries such as banking or insurance or healthcare. So this might be more fit for purpose for some industries than others, but it doesn't mean we cannot ask the questions. What can we do? So a lot of times we're not asking that question. We're thinking, well, this is what we've always done. And somebody told me that we couldn't do this because back in 1985, somebody broke a rule somewhere. Okay, so well, now we're in 2020. What now can we do? Where can we help? What bridges can we build? And so then the last part of this is the purpose. Know your business KPIs. Do you know what productivity looks like in your organization? Do you know where profit comes from in your organization? Not revenue, but profit. And do you know the difference between profit and revenue? Do you know how your business makes money? And when you know the answers to those questions, you can reach out to your business stakeholders and start talking about bridging the digital divide in your organizations and building a solid digital strategy that not only supports learning and development, but supports the business as a whole, giving people access to tools that are going to allow them to learn and grow and again, be more productive and efficient, right? This is what we're all striving for. So let's put some ideas into practice. So give me one moment and I'm going to switch over my screens. Switch over my screens for you because what I want to do is I want to give you an idea to talk to me. Okay. All right. So again, going into Menti and code 2813955, what ideas do you have for the group to support purpose, people, and process? What questions do you think we could ask? What help can we provide? Where can we be links to the people within our organization? That's what we're looking for. You know, so the key here is working together and connecting the links that I displayed here. And then you're going to get this PowerPoint. And at the very end, it's the reports and research that I used to put this together. And keeping in mind, I don't think that everyone understands or your stakeholders really truly understand the connection between the effects of people and the effects of business from a digital perspective. Yeah, impact on well-being. Exactly. Yep. Yep. Because this is all about what is happening now, and especially now, right? We're all stuck at home, or some of us are stuck at home. And working remotely is, as I said at the very beginning, it's breaking down our social structure. And when we break down our social structure, it also breaks down the business structure. And so now understanding 1 + 1 = 2. Right. Look at the subsets who have access to certain technologies. Absolutely. Remember, you may have that subset of people who have special technology. And why? Why do they have access to special technology when others do not? And what would happen if they did? That's the big question to answer. What would happen if they did? What improvements would we see on the business? Yeah, who can you work with and who shares this agenda? I think that's a really great question. So now you can start digging within your organization, certainly IT, probably sales. Sales would benefit from this all over the place. Marketing would benefit. HR would benefit. There are commonalities to be seen across the board. Job number one, learner advocacy. And you know what? I would make one little change there. It's about advocacy for the people in your organization. This is not about learners per se. This is about the people within your organization. As an L&D industry, our number one job is to advocate for the people within our organizations. So how can we do that? How can we help them get faster, better, smarter at what they do? It's bridging this digital divide. Right. Help with the work from home movement. If you can get the work from home, if you can build the social structure from the work from home, then you can get the business structure. So fostering awareness to start with and handhold the business in the transformation. Absolutely. Put yourselves in there. Don't tell yourselves, some of you may be on here right now where you think that I have no impact. You may go, well, this was a great hour, Shannon, but really this is above my pay grade. It's not. I tell you, it's not. You can have a true business impact here. This is your opportunity. Don't wait to be asked. Do it. Okay. Who else needs to be part of the conversation? Do I believe that L&D can add value? Yes. And yes, you do need to get this right first. Understand this, do the research. Adding tech IQ improvement. Yes. Yes, your tech IQ, bring everybody up. But like I said, this is the one case where it really does need to start from the top down. You've got to get the stakeholders involved. You've got to get them to understand it's not just phones and laptops. It's the whole thing. It's the divide between that. It's the apps, it's the slow tech, it's the legacy applications, it's everything in between. Excellent. The difference between training and how to do X and Y, right? Which buttons to click, right? It's not that training. It's the access to the technology that's allowing you to push X and Y, right? Raising awareness of all of the possibilities. Absolutely. Absolutely. When beginning to work remotely, out team connected on a daily basis. We now connect once a week, right? Yeah, there is a lot. It's the social structure. So I don't know who wrote that, but you're absolutely right on. It is the absence of the social structure. So now how do we bring that back? It's about giving people access and permission in some cases to go ahead and meet and share and collaborate and connect, because that's what this is all about. Okay, excellent. Good job. I love everything. I love everything here. Great ideas, great questions that we're going to need to ask. Reach out to other departments. I think that's your first step. Share this information and determine that if we work together, we're a stronger organization. So it's not this department and that department together. And you build it up and you can make it work. Okay. So I'm going to go back here. Okay. So remember, bringing the digital divide may be harder than budging other barriers, but it's worth it to help your organization survive and thrive. Are you prepared? That's the question. This is not going away. If anything else, your digital divide will grow. It's not going to go away. So now how do you help your organization address it? What's going to be your role? What's going to be your legacy? So hopefully the data sets provided that like I said, at the end of this PowerPoint that you'll receive, you'll get all of the resources there to be able to help you bridge your digital divide and have the conversations that you need to have with your organizations. So I'm looking here. Yep, Tracy. Like I said, at the very end, I'll tell you where to go. So when you receive the PDF or download the PDF of this PowerPoint, you'll get those resources. Yep. So are there any other questions that I can answer for you right now? I'm looking at this. So thank you very much. Again, Shannon Tipton, you can ask me questions now. You can ask me questions later. You can reach me on Twitter. You can reach me on Facebook and on Instagram and all those other happy places. And from my dog, Jack, and we wish you all the best of the rest of your day. This was actually an hour of my life well spent. Thank you, Heidi. That makes my day. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Oh, and I'm glad you like my bookshelf. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for attending today and taking time out of your day. I'm sure I speak for the Guild when I say, we realize that you have a busy day, and sometimes it's hard to break in something like this, but we appreciate you being here.
Yes, we do. This is Karen Gleason with the Learning Guild, and I just want to thank Shannon for that great presentation. A lot of good information, a lot of good things to think about. I hope you take those back to your organizations and really, as Shannon says, just do it. Don't be waiting to be asked. Just go ahead and do it. So thank you, Shannon, for that from Learning Rebels. We want to thank GoToWebinar by LogMeIn, who provided the platform